All right, well, this morning we're having a couple of student stories. I love this. I love that we get to hear from each other and get to know who's in our midst. And I figured that, okay, here's what you two have in common, George and Haley. Did you know this? That both of you are intimately involved in women's athletics here at Westmont College. So Haley Lopes, obviously, she's one of the captains of the women's soccer team. And you may not know this, but George, who's going to come up here first, George is like on the scout team of the women's volleyball team. So let's hear it for George Mathen. Come on.
Good morning, Westmont. I hope all is well. When Scott first asked me to speak, I kind of just chuckled because I was going through a hard time in the midst of it, and he had asked me to just explain a story of my faith, a testimony. And it just reminded me how, like in the midst of my hard times, I go back and look at one story that happened to me that really brings to me the peace and just shows me how the Lord provided. And I think one way I've been better able to engage with this is by reminding myself of the story and that shows that God provides for me constantly. And I think about stories of faith, I think about my senior year of high school and the college process for me. My bad. For me, this was deeply personal because I was making a decision on where I wanted to be during some of the most formative chapters of my life. You see, for me, Westmont College was a leap of faith, specifically for two reasons. The first, while all of my friends in the Silicon Valley were going to really good schools with their good friends, I felt I was choosing to embark on a very different life. I was going to be going on an unusual path, out of place, and at times lonely, because I was the only Indian guy going to a small Christian liberal arts school. Now, the second reason is that I didn't know how God would provide the means for me to attend this school because our family was going through some financial hardship at the time. Yet that senior year, I learned to be patient with my concerns as I saw God provide richly in His time. My background is such that I grew up in the Silicon Valley, known for its competitiveness, high standards, and the hustler lifestyle. When I mean hustler, it meant work hard, play hard. And I know the last 2 years it was mostly work hard, not much play hard. But I'm a product of that. And the normal life path that we all took there in the Silicon Valley, which is considered the successful way, was going to a well-known school, performing well, and securing a high-paying job that secured the rest of our life for us. However, my senior year, I was in a very different trajectory from the rest of my friends. I had gotten into a lot of the schools I wanted to get in, but realistically, I couldn't afford to go any of there. In hindsight, a lot of the schools that were in my so-called path to success were just doors being closed by God. It was frustrating because I put in all my effort to get in. I kind of put in the work for it. But because of things outside of my control, I couldn't go. And for me, it was financial hardship. But for others, it could be disease. It could be family issues. It could be your relationship with your parents, whatever it is that keeps us from going and pursuing our dreams sometimes. And so in my frustrated times, though, God did something really cool. Through my small groups leader, He opened doors at a place called Westmont College. You see, coincidentally to when I had applied, Westmont just started to substantially increase the financial means to assist students. And as a result, I was invited to visit the campus. I should have been excited because it was a door being opened by God. But I walked into it reluctantly because to me, Westmont was a small private school that was not like my large public high school. And so therefore, not my type and not my path and not what I wanted. And I think we all, at all our lowest points, look back and we go, shoot, all the doors are closed. But if you look on the other side, just there, you might see a little crack open there in the door. And that's usually God saying, hey, there's a path here. But just like me and a lot of us, we look the other way, go, no, we're going to be like Jonah, jump on another boat and go the other way. But thankfully, God opened my eyes to something that was very important to me, kind of moved my heart. And it was about the kind of people I wanted to be with. You see, Westmont had the kind of people I wanted to surround myself with for the next 4 years. A hidden gem with the people who wanted to have the hard conversations in life. The kind of people where iron sharpens iron. The ones who want to hold you accountable to make you better people, better stewards on this earth. And so I actually left with renewed hope, actually, because I actually like this place. I wanted to be here. But then like Peter, where he walks on water, out of faith when God tells him to do so, but then he looks at the reality of the storm, he starts sinking. And that's what happened to me, because when I stood there and I realized the reality of my life and my background of financial hardship, I was like, shoot. And that's when my hope sunk a little bit for me. You see, financial hardship was a repeating theme in my previous college decisions. And naturally, I felt at repeated times that it was just going to be yet another similar outcome, not being able to go. And like I said before, it's just a crappy feeling knowing we've done all we can do to do things, to get and deserve what we do, but yet because of outside of our means, we can't do it. However, thankfully, in these moments, I was also beginning to see how God was working in little ways, with those doors opening here and there. Westmont increasing those financial means. Me being able to move my heart because I saw the kind of people I wanted to be with. And so, I set my mind to trusting God that He would make things work if it was His will. That was something my mom always told me, George, in the midst of everything, you realize, you pray your desires and everything it is, and if it aligns with God's will, it will happen in His time. And so the next couple months in the spring was a time of patience, frustrating patience, because I wanted to be done quickly. I wanted to have a game plan that was set, things would work out quickly, I knew where I was going, but here I was just waiting on the Lord. And it seems like, things were going a little smoothly here and there because my hopes were being raised. There were calls coming from Westmont of potential hope. But yet again, 2 weeks before May 1st, college decision deadline, those renewed hopes were actually crushed when Westmont had finally called saying there wasn't a way for them to realistically meet my specific need. It was a sobering thought at that time, and I still remember when I asked, God, why did you take me all this way just to tell me no? And I think a lot of us also in the same time, when we're going through our hard times, and our hopes are raised, we're like, yes, I'm giving this to the Lord, yes, whatnot. And things are going up and down, up and down. And finally at the end, we also ask this question, we're going, why did you take me on such an emotional ride to only bring me to a place where I didn't have a plan, where I felt helpless, where I feel hopeless? And I think it was in that moments of hopelessness that I really turned to God. And this moment taught me an important lesson about helplessness and hopelessness. Because we begin to go from just having our capabilities on our side to having a God on our side. What looks like a low point in life, maybe even the lowest point, is actually a blessing in disguise. The tables are turned. And so, seeing hope in that, the fact that the tables were turned, I continue to pray out of these last 2 weeks before May 1st, pleading that maybe, just maybe, God might be able to do something differently for me. And it was 3 days before May 1st. I remember I had argued with my dad in the morning because he was like, you know what, hey, I think we should put our deposit for this other school. I was angry because my parents even had moved on. And not out of they didn't want to or whatnot, but just because they wanted to move on with life. And I was not ready to move on. And I remember I said, no, Dad, we have 3 days left. Let's still hold on to this. Let's just wait and just pray and see what happens. And I remember receiving a phone call that evening when I was in the library. And it was a phone call for Santa Barbara. The counselors usually call, check up on me and whatnot. This time it was from the Dean of Admissions. He wanted to check up on me. He asked, hey, how are you doing? And frankly, for me, it was like, no BS, let's just be straight. I told him, hey, I have 3 days left, and I have no idea where I'm going. All I've been doing is praying. He kind of chuckled and he asked me, hey, well, do you believe in prayers being answered? And I said, of course, that's all I've been doing. And so he then told me, hey, George, there's actually a student not coming next year. And we realized that we can make it possible for you to come to Westmont. We've got the means to make it a reality. I was shook, and I just stood there in disbelief. I'm like, yo, Sylvia, I'm so sorry for a crappy reaction right now, but I just don't know what to say. And what I saw would seem like a discouraged low point, a final plea had turned into a miracle in the final days of the process. There is much more, and since then, being at Westmont has been a journey in itself. Being here has allowed me to thrive on a spiritual level that I had not realized before. It wouldn't have happened like this if I'd chosen, though, to go my own way to college, trying to secure my own future with my own means. And so, when my friends ask me about faith or parts of my story, this is literally what I tell them. I tell them, God's plan is far bigger and better than what we could ever imagine for ourselves. I wanted to be at a big school and thrive because that's what it was in public school. But God said, no, I want to take you to a small Christian school where you can thrive spiritually. I want you to learn to be able to find peace and fulfillment in my presence. I said, I wanted to be in a place, that had great weather. I thought USC, SoCal, that was going to be a good place to be, LA. But he was like, no. I want to take you to a place, the hills of Montecito, with the best weather in the world. And I know some people might argue about that. You might say Colorado, whatnot. But for Indians, heat is good. Tropicalness, Santa Barbara, this is the place to be. And I also said, no, I want to go to a big school, big public school, because I want to be socially thriving there. But God said, no, I'm going to put you at Westmont, because I want you to find some golden friendships that you can't live without. And I have friends like that over here. I got a friend right now abroad for a year. I miss him terribly. But that's a good friendship that God gave me. All God-given. You see, Westmont, faith is a beautiful avenue that allows us to see how God delivers. But not in our time, but rather in His time. If I did it in my time, this story wouldn't be here. This story wouldn't be here to show His goodness and provision. And we all go through seasons of testing, hardship, and uncertainty in a long journey of patience. But it is faith that keeps us going. In fact, our hopes might even get renewed along the process. And it might be after falling down so many times. And in this hope, we go, maybe this is it, God will deliver. And then it gets crushed again. If you think about it, that's what happened to Job, that's what happened to Abraham, that's what happened to all these people. Yet back again, they said, no, we're going to stay faithful. And if there's anything I've learned, faith allows us to be better over bitter. And by being better and encouraging one another in this season, we're able to hold on to a truth that has a much higher purpose than just us. For me, faith allowed me to look back at each moment and go, dang God, you thoughtfully orchestrated that into my life in order to make me who I am today. Most of all, it reminded me of God's provision in my time of need as I grappled with my situations, with my fears and whatnot. I think that's the same for each one of us. And so with that, I wanted to end with a verse that this one dad told me as I entered that season of hardship my senior year. He told me, George, Proverbs 16:9. This one's for you. The heart of the man plans his way, but the Lord establishes its step. And it's a truth that I think I hold on dearly to me because it's helped me regain peace. Peace not just within myself, but peace that's far bigger than me. And it's the peace that just transcends understanding. And that's the peace that gives me in the midst of my fears to remain peaceful, to remain present, to remain with a peace of mind. And I hope that does the same for you guys also. Thank you, Westmont.
What's up, guys? Just go that way. Okay, while we're getting situated, can everyone stand up real fast? That's great. Okay, like Scott said, I'm on the women's soccer team, and so my team knows what's going on right now. But everyone, I'm going to take this out real fast. Okay, everyone, ready? Put your hand on your hip. Other hand, you can like flex or something. Get the biggest, giant smile on your face you possibly can. And just say words of encouragement to yourself. Ready, set, go. Power pose. Yes, you are good. You are strong. Yes, gosh. Okay, sit down, sit down, sit down. Okay, so I heard one time that when you smile, you get like happy endorphins in your body or something like that, scientific. And I like full on believe that. Like we're on the line about to sprint, like ladies smile. like, we're about to run, we got it. And I think that's what I've done a lot of my life. My parents used to call me Happy Haley, regardless of what was going on in our family, in my own personal life. It was bear down, smile, get through it, you got it. So high school Haley, let's go back in time. I came from a broken home. My parents were 18 and 21 when they had me, divorced 2 years later. My dad got remarried pretty quickly, but my mom went through a different track, and I just saw a lot of brokenness in relationships. So my idea of what relationships and love looked like was so tainted by just hurt and brokenness. I saw what alcohol did to families. I saw what abuse did to relationships. In elementary school, I learned that we can use love to manipulate one another. In high school, I was told if you really loved me, you'd do this for me. You'd go here with me. You'd do this to me. My perception of love was that it had to be earned. Love was sacrificing your wants and your happiness and even your body in order to show that love. Well, by the end of high school, just like George, I wanted to go to like the big school, right? But maybe for different reasons. I wanted that Greek life, and I wanted the big football games and all that good stuff, right? And by the end of my junior year, my dad said, hey, we're going to a camp in Santa Barbara. And I was like, sweet, UCSB, let's go. And he goes, no, Westmont. And I said, who? And so we drive down to Santa Barbara. We pull up to the camp, and there's like 20 girls at the camp. And any athletes out there that are going to ID camps in high school, there's like hundreds of people that normally go to camps. And I'm like, Dad, they can't even get girls here. Like, what is going on? I was like, there's no way in heck I'm going here. My perception of Christians and Christianity was you're either super lame or you're super hypocritical, and I didn't want any of that. So go to the camp, have a good time, and by the end of a 6-hour camp, I got back in the truck and said, I think I'm going to go here, Dad. And he was so confused, and within the next month, I was committed. I was coming to Westmont a year later, and I didn't really know how, and I didn't really know why, but somehow I was coming to this place. By the grace of God, I was plucked out of my little town and was placed here at Westmont. The Lord showed himself to me in crazy ways just through people. He was reforming my idea of love, my broken idea of what love looked like and what relationships look like, by my team, by my coaching staff, by people on staff with FCA. They weren't shoving their faith into, over me. They weren't telling me to do this or telling me to do that. They were just sitting with me, and they were meeting with me and loving me so well through the process. I can't tell you enough how important these just simple relationships were to me. They continually showed me that you can find joy and love and peace through this gift. And over time, I just realized, what is it that they have? What is it? I want to know. I need more of that. I didn't understand it. I didn't get it. And then one day it dawned on me, they are showing me the love of Christ that they experienced before, and they were so graciously pouring that out on me. God overwhelmed me within my first year and second year at Westmont, and completely redeemed myself, my relationships, my family. I got baptized my sophomore year, and on the day of my baptism was the first time that my mom and my dad had spoken to each other in 3 or 4 years. They spent time together. He was redeeming my relationships with my parents. He saved me from a super unhealthy relationship that I couldn't have gotten out of on my own. things that he was delivering me from and giving me so much more life was just crazy. This perfect love of Jesus that I had experienced just broke every chain that I had. He gave me new life. He gave me new love. And at times, I put on this facade, right? I get back up, I power pose, I smile, and say, I got this, over and over and over again. And that was also my idea of Christianity. It was once I come to know Jesus, I have to be good. Like, I have to have this smile on my face because he has given me so much, and that is so true. But in the last month, guys, gonna be honest, like, I have been so broken. I have been so heartbroken, and it's been hard for me to find joy. But he is reminding me daily that it is him that brings that joy, that I don't have to carry myself, that I don't have to power pose and keep everything going, that he is going to keep me going, and he is going to save me. From 2 Chronicles 6, it's the prayer of dedication from Solomon. It says, Then Solomon stood before the altar of the Lord in front of the whole assembly of Israel. He spread out his hands toward heaven and knelt down and said, Lord, the God of Israel, there is no God like you. For me now, that is my power pose. I get to kneel down, hands to the heaven, and say, Lord, fill me. Lord, give me your joy, give me your peace. Lord, I can't do this on my own. I am weak. I am not able, but you are able, Lord. Give me your courage, give me your strength. I just don't want there to be this false idea of Christianity. I don't want there to be this false idea that once you come to know Jesus, that things are okay and that life is easy. It's not. But he gives us so much hope and faith and joy in who he is and what he is doing, that's what keeps us going. So if you're questioning it, if you don't understand, if life is hard and you don't get how all these people can just keep going and they're like smiling and like waving around during worship, and it's just like, what the heck? I understand, and it's true, and it's weird, but guys, it is so sweet. Life is so much sweeter when you get to do it with him. So I guess that's what I would just encourage and end with. I don't really know what's happening, but guys, don't try to go on this life on your own. We can stick our hands to the heavens and bow to him and say, Lord, you got me. I don't got me. You got me. Praise him for what he's done in me. Praise him for what he is doing in you, and what he has promised us and what he will give us. Thanks, God.
Isn't it interesting that I just love that. George and Haley, thank you for sharing your stories with us. Both of you have shared some with us about surrendering, that life comes in surrender. I think I'm going to take that with me for a long time, that this is a power pose. It's surrender. It's worship too, but it's surrender. And both of you have discovered God in the midst of surrendering. So I just want to encourage all of us to continue to be the kind of community that asks each other our unfinished stories. We are all in a process, and always a quarter inch away from being a hot mess and waving around our arms around like a weirdo, praising God because we're happy. So we're all unfinished stories, and there's something about being able to listen to someone else's story that is just sacred. And there's something so deeply fulfilling about being asked your story. So I just commission you to ask one another what's going on, no matter where you are on this continuum of faith and life. So, hey, we're going to do something right now. Because it's Thanksgiving, I have a verse about being thankful. It's right here in Colossians. Stand by. let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. And by that peace, when Paul's using that word, it's like the big fat shalom kind of peace. It's like goodness, rightness, flourishing with you, inside of you, with God, and with each other. So let that kind of peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called. You were called in peace in one body. Like you and I are supposed to experience peace together as a community. That kind of flourishing. And just this little thing here, and be thankful. Be thankful. And part of flourishing, Jane Wilson has taught us this, right? Part of flourishing is being a thankful person. So as many of you came in, you got a little card, and we're going to have some music to be thankful by. Or you can make a pledge, your favorite 501c3. Just kidding. But use that card, pull out a pen or a pencil, and just write a note of gratitude or thanks to somebody that you're going to give them after chapel. Or, and this just happened, this technology just happened this morning, on your phone, you can send a thing called a text, and it's incredible. And right now, I'm giving you permission to pull out your phone if you don't have a little 3x5 card or 4x6 card to write on, and jot a note of thankfulness to somebody. And not just thankful that you know, but tell them why you are thankful for them in your life. And we'll finish by worshiping together.